Hello friends and welcome to another East German military stuff video. This time I have for you a summer service uniform with MfS or Stasi stamp, and because this video might have a bit of a clickbaity title with the Stasi mentioned, just right away here to prove that this jacket and trousers here are in fact MfS stamped, so Ministerium für Staatssicherheit, or more commonly known as Stasi. And yeah, we'll get to the stamps a bit more later on. Just to clarify first, there isn't so much information available about this summer service uniform, and my source is basically just one website. The website seems quite credible since there's a lot of East German items there, and yeah, the description sounds believable, so there will be a link in the description, so if you want to take a look for yourself. It's in German, but well, you can use Google Translate or whatever. But so let's first go through like what is this uniform. According to the website I mentioned, in 1976 in pretty much most of Europe, the summer was excruciatingly hot. There were temperatures up to 38 degrees in East Germany for much of the summer, and they realized that the summer clothing for soldiers was quite hot, and especially they wanted something more comfortable for soldiers who were sort of in special duties. So let's say they were somewhat going out to the public or seen by civilians or so on. Let's say drivers, different guard post people, border station people, and they wanted to have something lighter for those soldiers. And since the beginning of DDR, they had been producing drillich uniforms. So drillich uniforms started to appear in Germany, I believe, even before the Second World War. And the drillich fabric had like this very distinctive wavy pattern to it, and it was more lighter than the wool uniforms. DDR had been producing those drillich uniforms in 1950s and 60s. They wanted something a bit similar with this summer uniform. They produced this very light DDR fabric, and the cut of the summer uniform would be very similar to the drillich uniform, whereas the drillich uniform was often worn in the field, so you would wear your drillich uniform and then any camouflage clothing on top of the drillich uniform. And this new summer uniform instead was more for barrack duty, or more cleaner duty, not in the field. And that becomes quite apparent soon because the fabric is very thin, so this wouldn't last in the field for not long at all. That was the situation in 1976, and starting in 1977 they started to produce this, or maybe in 1976 already there were some preliminary prototypes or whatever, but by 1977 this was in production. This was produced at least until early 1980s. The website claims that it was produced until the end of the DDR. Personally, I haven't seen examples from late 1980s. There are uniforms stamped with early 1980s stamps, but definitely was produced until the 1980s. And this jacket and trousers combo that I have here is they are both from 1977, so from the beginning of the production of this summer uniform model. And right away, as you can see, this has these bright metal colored buttons, whereas the earlier drillich uniforms, since they were made for field use, they had more subdued buttons, gray buttons. The chest buttons here are metal too. I already started to talk about the jacket, so let's concentrate on the jacket first. So as you can maybe see from the general cut and vibe of the jacket, that it is definitely inspired by the let's say previous German military that existed before DDR. The pockets are very Wehrmachtian style with the folds and everything, and with the chest buttons. And this example is completely unused, and usually these were provided with color tabs, so depending on your branch of service there would be a color tab sewn on here. And for non-commissioned officers of the proper ranks. There would also be the silver lining sewn onto the collar here. And yeah, as is common with DDR uniforms, we have, if my camera would pick it up, we have attachments for shoulder boards here. And since the other buttons on the jacket are metal colored, well, you would probably use metal colored button on the shoulder board as well. On the sleeves there's actually nothing at all. There you can see a bit of string like poking out like this. This uniform, when you take a quick look at it, it looks quite nice, but then when you start to look more into it, you see that it's been produced a bit cheaply. I mean, it sort of makes sense because these weren't supposed to be any long-term clothes, like, since it was very light fabric to begin with, so it didn't really make sense to create them like super duper high quality. But yeah, on the sleeve itself there's like almost no details at all, except we have like this one cuff button here. I wonder like really what's the purpose of this, because yeah, there's just one button here. As you can see, just one button, so yeah, there's no really any adjustment or anything in here, so it's more for just, yeah, detail here. And this might be like a detail that's specific to the Stasi stamped uniforms, because I have seen like NVA stamped examples where this is absent. You know, the Drillick uniforms, on the early ones, which were for field use, here on the right front side you could sometimes see like a field bandage pocket here underneath. Well, it's absent from here since, yeah, this wasn't meant for field use. Overall inside the code is like very simple, there isn't much to go about it. Here on the collar on the inside we have, as usual, the buttons for a collar liner, as is, yeah, pretty much for all DDR NVA jackets. Like, you have the collar liner that would attach here, and we have a size label here, so G44, so medium height and a very thin person cut jacket. On the under of the collar, yeah, there are some sewings here to make it a bit more firm. So let's maybe look properly at the stamp here. So we have MfS to begin with, so Ministerium für Staatssicherheit. And you might be asking, like, if you don't know too much about the DDR, like, why would the Stasi stamp their uniforms? I mean, Stasi was known to be like a spy organization, like, surely they wouldn't mark their uniforms. Well, there are two cases where this is possible, like why it's here. The first is that it was widely known that the people at the border crossings in the DDR were manned by personnel from the Stasi, and they would be wearing uniforms that appeared to be Grenztruppen or border troop uniforms, which the border troops were under the Ministry of the Interior. But yeah, often the border crossings were manned by Stasi personnel, so it could be possible that this jacket was meant for that personnel. The second, and perhaps more likelier case, is that the leadership of the East Germany had basically their own military unit, which was called the Felix Dzerzhinsky Wachtregiment, or the Felix Dzerzhinsky Guards Regiment, and that unit was based in Berlin. The main duties of that unit were basically to protect the leadership of East Germany and quell any civil unrest that could appear in the country, as did in 1956, for example. And the unit was very small in the beginning, but eventually in the 1980s it was basically like a division-sized unit, so it was quite a big military unit. And yeah, they had basically just people in military uniforms and armed with the same weaponry as the East German military. They even had some armored vehicles and missile launchers and such. It was a through and through military unit, and yeah, that might be where this summer service uniform was headed for. Then here we have quite a faint marking, capital A, and that is the year code. So the letter A in this case is 1977. Unfortunately, there should be like the quarter of the year marking here before the year code, so Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, or 4. But that has faded away from this one, or it has not been stamped properly in the first place. Then we have the factory code, which is unfortunately a mystery, so it's 1810. And there are a couple of lists in the internet of all the different codes that are on East German clothing, but unfortunately no one has found out so far, or at least I haven't found out from any list, that what this 1810 would be. But clearly it is some kind of factory code. And then the mystery continues. We have 4 zeros which are stamped quite unevenly, and the font and the ink looks quite different from the MFS and 1810 stamps, so it seems like these were stamped on different occasions, or at least using different tools. Yeah, the zeros are very unevenly spaced there. And then we have 75, which is again a mystery what that is. It most likely is not a year code, because again there is a A here which is 1977, and the letters here are uneven again, so if I would have to guess, the MFS and 1810 and A were stamped first, and then these 4 zeros and 75 were stamped later. That would also make more sense, because these MFS and A and 1810 stamps are more faded, whereas these are more clearly visible. But yeah, if you know what this 4 zeros or 75 means, or 1810, please let me know in the comments, because yeah, it's quite a mystery currently where this jacket came from and what these mean. And now, after recording the video for a good while, I realize I should probably put more lights on. Well, anyway, we have this above the main stamps, we have this chalk marking, which I didn't think much of first, but then I actually found this repeat in the trousers. And this seems to be some sort of marking that the factory worker has put, so I guess like a personal signature or something, maybe to find out who has produced what, and then they can blame the correct person if something's not right. That would be the socialist way of finding the guilty parties. But yeah, overall very simple jacket, not much details here. There's like this protective flap here that's covering the attachments for the shoulder boards here on the inside. The hole for the arms is like very narrow, like it's really small, so you better not have a lot of shoulder muscles. And yeah, we have like this small bit of strengthening here on the connection of the shoulders, the arm sleeve. And yeah, as already said, we have the very Wehrmachty looking pockets here on the front, and these are the only pockets on the whole jacket. So we have 2 chest pockets and 2 waist pockets, and they have just this one button for closing them. The back of the jacket, there's really no details at all, just this center seam here. Fortunately, there's like a teeny weeny scratch on the coat, so otherwise it's just like new worthy condition. One small detail, that this uppermost button here is this small gray one. You weren't supposed to really close the collar of the jacket because it was meant for summer, but well, it's here if you really need to for some reason, if the cold wind catches you somehow in the middle of the summer. But yeah, on that website that I mentioned as the source, they speculate that perhaps awards would have been worn with this jacket, since this would have been worn by personnel who were sort of out in the world, like being seen by people, so maybe there would be awards displayed here on the chest of the coat. But yeah, that's speculation, because no one has been really able to spot this specific uniform with any awards, but sort of would make sense. Yeah, as I mentioned, this was kind of meant for specialized personnel, like drivers of high officers, border station workers, and so on. So this Sommerdienstuniform, as it was labeled, there's actually that label from like a pile of these jackets available on that website. So like these were delivered in packs of 5 with a label on top, and the label for this uniform said Sommerdienstuniform. So this wasn't meant to be issued for every soldier in the East German military, and that's why it's not listed, for example, in the Basic Military Knowledge Handbook on the section about what clothing and equipment you'll be issued. So there's no Sommerdienstuniform listed here. And of course the coat would be worn like with a belt on the waist. I'm not sure which belt it would be. I guess it would make more sense to be the black leather belt, since yeah, this is more of proper kind of uniform that you would wear in the public. So yeah, let's move to the trousers then. We can take a look at the stamp again first, which is pretty much the same. So we have again MfS, Ministerium für Staatssicherheit, and we have the quarter of the year marking here, so 2. So this would have been produced in spring or early summer of 1977 again. So we have capital A, and we have the same factory code here, 1810, which again is a mystery. So let me know if you know what factory that is. And we have size label here, so the same G44, and the usual East German D-ring attachment for suspenders. And apparently this where this stamp is actually the back pocket, and apparently the fabric of this back pocket here in the inside, that would vary based on what branch this was made for. Like the NVA examples had like a more brown pocket fabric, apparently. Continuing with the stamps, oh yeah, we have the name label here, so you can mark your own name here, pair as your own. That's actually also on the code, forgot to show that, but yeah, it's just this white tag here. But yeah, actually just before I started filming this video, I noticed that there are more stamps on the trousers, which I had missed previously. So here on the left front side, we again have this 4 zeros stamped unevenly, and 75, which is also stamped unevenly. So let me know if you have an idea what this means. And additionally, we have this stamping here, 4, 2, 5, and 3, and then that's quite partial, so it's hard to say. Maybe it's like a capital letter I. And here on the left front pocket fabric, we have the same stencil marking that was on the code, so it kind of looks like an S or 5. This was definitely marked by someone, and it seems that the trousers and the coat are matching, since this stencil marking is the same. Just so you can see, here it is. I mean, it's not completely identical, but it's definitely the same. Perhaps it's like 5 actually, or not that I actually look at it properly. This seems like a 2, and this looks like a 5. So as I mentioned, these were delivered in stacks of 5, so maybe this is like item number 2 of that stack, and this is then 5 of the trouser stack. So this wouldn't actually be completely matching, but yeah, definitely interesting to see these chalk markings. I haven't seen these on any other item. But yeah, just about the construction of, or the cut of the trousers, we have the sort of typical men's trousers, buttons here, 2 buttons here on the flap, and then 3 buttons here, and button here for the flap. And interestingly, we have belt loops on the trousers, which is quite rare to see in DDR military clothing. Perhaps because this is summer service uniform. This is my speculation. Perhaps the idea was that if it was really hot, you could take off your coat and instead wear like a dress shirt, and then tuck the shirt into the trousers and wear a belt here, so it would look a bit neater. That's just my speculation. But yeah, as you can see, there are like bits of string here like poking out, so yeah, these weren't made to the highest quality standards. I presume like the soldiers would have been tasked with like cutting these off and making them look a bit neater. Pocket wise, yeah, we have 2 hand warming pockets here, just open, completely open pockets, no closure or anything. And then yeah, as I already mentioned, we have 1 pocket in the rear with just 1 button, closing it there with this sort of ornamental flap on top. On the inside we have like this small centerpiece here to which many other pieces of fabric have been woven on. It's kind of a brownish, rougher fabric. And apparently on the NVA stamped trousers, like the pocket material was kind of like this, so yeah, more brownish and a bit less smooth. On the legs themselves, there's like no real details at all. On the cuff here, or sleeve, or how do you call this, like nothing else except at the back. So we have like this strengthening band, so it would last just at least a bit longer. And so I guess one last thing I can tell you about this is like my personal story, how I got this. So about 14 or 13 years ago, the Finnish military surplus store Varustelleka had these available in their web store, and I'm not so interested about service clothing, or the parade stuff or whatever, the stuff that the NVA used in indoor duties or parades or whatever. I'm more of a field uniform, field gear person. But I saw these, and these were just like 20 or 30 euros for a set of coat and trousers. So yeah, I picked one, and already in the product description it was saying that these are Stasi stamped, and already back then I knew that anything that's marked Stasi or MfS, it's quite rare. So yeah, I bought this, and yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with what I got. So it's completely unused, and you have clear MfS stamps on both pieces. If you look for these in eBay, they are often listed as drilling uniforms, which they really are not, since the fabric is different, the cut is different, and the purpose was different, what these were made for. If you see like NVA drilling uniforms, and they are from 1970s or 1980s, it's most likely this type of uniform. Back then, when I bought this, it was like 20 or 30 euros. I guess it would be a bit more now, but you can find the NVA stamped ones for still quite cheap prices, for less than 50 euros. Though finding bigger sizes is quite difficult. It's most smaller and shorter sizes. If you know more about those stamps that I showed previously, please let me know in the comments. And while you're there, please leave a like if you did enjoy the video, and hit the subscribe button so you will see when I release the next video. Please check out the channel. There's already a nice catalog of East German videos there, so if you're interested in East German military gear, please go check out the channel. And thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.